So let's get all the evil bad guys from all the Doctor Who episodes, as many as we can get, and put them into one deck. So if you know, this deck is going to be on the Master of Evil Doctor Who deck, and you can probably see straight off the bat I have a little tiny complaint when it comes to picking the decks. Now don't get me wrong, we will be going through the deck in its entirety, talking about the good parts and the bad parts and the cards that go in it, but I just want to say I did find it a little silly that they had 3 Doctor Who decks, all with Doctors as the commander, with all the Doctors in it, and then have one with majority of the bad guys, where majority of bad guys outweigh the number of the amount of Doctors. Personally, I think they should have done 2 good guys and 2 bad guys, or like bundles of bad guys. Like, I think it should have been the Doctor, definitely, with all the Doctors in it, and then something like the Face of Boe or some of the commanders that are already in these decks could have been a face card of a commander. Then it could have been like the Daleks and the Weeping Angels in one deck, with a few little bad guys here or there, and then it should have been the Master, because the Master's close to the Cybermen, and then having the Cybermen and the Master deck, with the Master being the companion, with again other bad guys in there, because they're missing quite a few, or they only have 1 card. Like, I know that in the deck, which we'll be talking about, the Weeping Angels only gets 1 card, the rest was in a secret layer. So let's go on about the deck. When it comes to the deck, we will be talking about the cards in it, and then at the very end giving my thoughts and opinions on the deck as a whole and seeing if it is worth buying. So of course we have to start the deck with the commander, and the commander being Darvos Dalek Creator. For 1 blue, black and a red, you get a legendary artifact creature, alien scientist, that is a mythic. He has Menace. At the beginning of your end step, create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature token with Menace if an opponent loses 3 or more life this turn. Then each opponent who lost 3 or more life this turn faces a villainous choice. Draw a card, or that player discards a card. Now of course, this as the commander is the obvious choice. This is the original. This is the best Dalek of them all. This is what happens. This is the person to start terror from all over the universe. Just one person done all this like pain and misery. This is the best commander that it could have been when it comes to picking a commander for the deck. And boy, they did him justice. 3 really powerful colours with a menace ability that is quite actually underrated in my opinion, with a really good ability. The fact that you are able to make Daleks if you do 3 damage, which again in these colours are very easily, especially since red is in it. And then a villainous choice, which again is a really good ability in my opinion. I really think that they should actually put this into more when it comes to Magic the Gathering, that if you do something, they have to pick one of the 2 outcomes. This is a great commander. This I absolutely love. But with every commander there is a sub-commander, and the sub-commander is Missy. For 3 blue, black and a red, you get a legendary creature, Time Lord Rogue, that is a rare. Whenever a non-artifact creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control, face down and tapped. It's a 2/2 Cybermen artifact creature. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent faces a villainous choice. Each artifact creature you control deals 1 damage to that opponent, or you draw a card, Chaos Ensues, and is a 4/5. So this is a great sub-commander. Again, the Master, or Missy in this case, is one of my favourite villains of pretty much all time. I prefer the one with the tick 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 sound one, but Missy is also a great version of the Master. When it comes to this, my only downfall is the villainous choice at the end. It doesn't really feel like a villainous choice. At the very start, if you only have maybe 1 to 3 artifacts, people are going to be like, I will just take the damage because drawing is more important. But then in late game, people will be like, I'm not taking 8, 10, 15 damage. I'll let you draw a card. Now, it should be one of those things that personally, and I know it would have been harder to do, that it should be they take 1 damage for each artifact, or you draw as many cards equal to half the amount of artifacts you have. That way, I think it would have been better and made an actual choice more difficult, but the fact that you are able to turn your creatures into Cybermen is a really good story part when it comes to this card. So now we are going on to the creatures of this deck. In this deck there is 31 creatures, but I'll be breaking it down slightly more than I usually do. I'm more going through them as different sections or different types. So for example, the first one I'll be going over is for mainly the commander. I'll be going over the Daleks. So in this deck there are 4 Daleks in total, and those are Dalek Drone, Cult of Sekiro, the Dalek Emperor, Dalek Squadron, then the Cybermen of this deck. When it comes to this deck, there's a total of 5 Cybermen, and those Cybermen are the Cyber Controller, Ashad the Lone Cyberman, Cyberman Squadron, Cyberman Patrol, Cybermat, and then of course there's the Master themselves. You don't see all their forms, but you see the most classic and iconic ones with a total of 4. And those 4 are the Master Multiplied, the Master Mesmerist, the Master Form Danu, the Master Gallifrey's End, and then of course throughout the multiple universes and like going on 60 years, there is loads of bad guys, loads of enemies, so here are a good few mentions on screen now. Ontum Soldier, the Flood of Mars, Time Reaper, Vizsla Thulon, Raslunan the War President, the Valeyard, Weeping Angel, the Beast Deathless Prince, the Rani, Sycorax Commander. Now with this magical world, there's also sorceries. In this deck there is a total of 8 sorceries, and to be honest I rather find them really good or really good Doctor Who wise when it comes to the story and plot, so I'll be going over all 8 now, and those cards are Hunted by the Family, Doomsday Confluence, Delete, Ensnared by the Mara, Blasphemous Act, Feed the Swarm, Exterminate, Great Intelligence Plan, and then you cannot have sorceries without having instances. So in this deck there is a total of 4 sorceries, and since it's short and I love Doctor Who and love talking about it as much as possible, I'm just going to go through the 4 instances, and those are Cyber Conversion, This Is How It Ends, Snuff Out, Don't Blink, and now the enchantments. When it comes to the enchantments there is 8 in total, but only 6 I actually want to talk about. 2 are okay when it comes to the story and okay cards, but to be honest I've seen enough of them and made enough of these videos that I'm like 6 of them I actually want to talk about, and those 6 cards are Genesis of the Daleks, Death in Heaven, Day of the Moon, Blink, The Sound of Drums, The Toymaker's Trap, and with Cybermen in this deck I thought there'll be a lot more artifacts, but a lot of them are mana rocks. When it comes to artifacts there's a total of 12, but again most of them are forms mana rocks that I make in all these videos, so I'll only be going over 3, and those 3 are Cyber Ship, Midnight Crusade Shuttle, Laser Screwdriver, and then lands. When it comes to this deck there's a total of 37 lands, all of them really good. To be honest I think they're doing the land base a bit better, but they've also upped the price, so I don't really know how I feel towards it, but here are the lands on screen now. Haunted Ridge, Shipwreck Marsh, Smouldering Marsh, Storm Cavern Coast, Dragon Skull Summit, Sunken Hollow, Choked Estuary, Foreboding Ruins. Now overall, is this deck worth it? Yes and no. It's really hard to say in my personal opinion. I think it is a good deck when it comes to the Doctor Who. It has so much nostalgia, it has so many great cards, but I think playing it might be slightly different. I think it's too crowded that if you want to do one thing, you might only draw the cards that make you do the other things. I don't find a mix and match that well, and I do feel that this deck is overcrowded. It seems to be they wanted to do so many things in one deck, where to be honest, I would actually prefer popping the extra 50 or 70 quid in to be able to get a second deck and separate the 2. That is my personal opinion. I've seen people say they love this deck, but I've also seen people say they just bought it because it's a Doctor Who deck and there's nostalgia behind it. So again, this one is actually the first. It's on you guys, what you think, because personally I want this deck because of the Doctor Who nostalgia. But again, as someone that's currently rewatching Doctor Who from the start, I'm on the 2nd series of the first Doctor, I think that this deck is too jam-packed for me to actually play and enjoy fully. I'm going to try and get the deck, I'm going to try and play it, but if I had my own way, if I worked for Wizards, I would be pretty much being like, we need 2 decks. I have an idea for this one, and I have an idea for the other one, and I think it would have been a lot personally better, but again, with how many rules and registrations and all of that stuff, it might not have been, and people's opinions as well. So when it comes to this video, I would like your opinion on this deck. Let me know if you bought it, let me know if you didn't, let me know if you like this deck, let me know what changes you would have in it, let me know what bad guys you would like to see, let me know it all in the comments down below. While you're there, remember to like and subscribe and follow me on my social media. And as always, if you like this Doctor Who deck, I have the previous one here, a playlist with Is It Worth It here, and a subscribe button here, which again, I appreciate when it's hit. But as always, I will see you in the next video.